As the city of Nashville grows, so too does its need for locally produced agriculture. I'm really excited today because we get to go behind the scenes at a local nonprofit that sort of acts as a food hub, connecting farmers and chefs and supermarket owners, making sure that this slow food movement continues to grow in our city. And I'm here with founder Alan Powell of Nashville Grown. Alan, this space is pretty incredible. A lot of stuff going on, flurry of activity, especially at this time of the year. You have shipments coming and going and all. And tell me a little bit about the kind of the founding moments of Nashville Grown and how all this came to be.
Well, 12 or so years ago, I was working for a farmer that a lot of people know because he is featured on this show so often, Jeff Poppin, the Barefoot Farmer. I was working directly for him and helping him distribute vegetables in his CSA program.
Okay.
And through that process, I started making connections with farmers and chefs both. And so when Jeff encouraged me to get out and try and make inroads to sell some more of his product out into the world, I started calling the chefs I knew. And it was a very natural process. It started with Jeff's stuff and a couple of restaurants. And then I took on another farm. And then the next year after that, another one. And then this girl came into town talking about this concept called a food hub, which I hadn't heard of at the time. But she said, essentially, it's what you're already doing. It's making food more available from the local farms into either the consumer or restaurant scene. Now, my business happens to be all wholesale, but that was just because that's what was lacking here in our market.
Right.
But it is a very nice little way for chefs to get access to 100 different farms worth of products on a single website. And that, of course, means one delivery, one invoice, and one check cut.
Right.
And then we take care of all the legwork on the other side. We move everything around, but we also redistribute the money so that everybody else, farmers can farm, chefs can cook, and we do all of the crazy in between.
So you're kind of like the lubrication that keeps all this real-time food reaching from the farms locally to the chefs and the supermarkets that want to work with you in a sense. And business is good?
Business has been very good. We've been growing in leaps and bounds. Last year our growth was about 150%, which is substantial. And so we are anticipating continued growth along those lines. It is a really important business. The US government now has managed to recognize how beneficial these food hubs are around the country to the local economies of all of these different places.
Kind of helping with legislation that kind of helps foster
the legislation,
nonprofits like this?
Well, the legislation is helpful too. I mean, fortunately, farmers are considered a very respect-worthy group in this community.
Right.
So it wasn't as hard to work with the legislature here, but it is true that there are a lot of things that still need to be done. Paving the road, like if you remember the chicken thing a few years ago when
policies,
I mean, we had, so here we are, nobody is able to raise chickens and everybody says we want to raise our backyard chickens. Well, the Food Policy Council, at the time I was on that council, but we were writing white papers to do just those kinds of things. It's very much up the alley of what Nashville Grown wants to do, continue to pave the road for a more lucrative and viable farming business community. And if we can create a nice, robust local food system, we have created a great kind of shield against economic shock, right? So the stronger our local food economy, the better we fare if the national or international economy nosedives like it did in 2008. I mean, we're running what's called a consignment model for food hubs. And there's lots of different models of food hubs out there in the world. And the reason we're a consignment model is that we actually warehouse very little, right? The stuff that's in there now came in today and it'll be gone tomorrow, right? There's no real length of time that we're holding on to anything. So farmers are listing products on order days, restaurants order. The next day would be aggregation day. That's the day where either the farm brings it to me or I go out and get it from them. And then the third day would be delivery day. And so we have these two periods twice a week. We have an order day, followed by an aggregation day, followed by a delivery day. And then we do it again. And that we do that twice every week. And that allows things to move very quickly. But the beauty really, I mean, when you're talking about trying to maintain freshness, if you place an order on Sunday and Monday morning it gets harvested, picked up, and delivered to me, and by Tuesday morning it's in your hands, there is no fresher produce hitting any market anywhere.
That's incredible. To be able to move that much mass, that much weight of produce, all in such a short amount of time. And so some of it comes into the cooler. Does some of it go directly from the farm to the restaurateur, or is it always passed through here first?
Well, there's definitely a series of possible exceptions. I mean, we do have sometimes farms that would like to make the delivery themselves, but most farmers want to stay on the farm and do their thing.
That's right.
And so if they want to, if they're trying to, make sure that they put a face to their farm name and make a connection with the chef, because there's a lot of things that are born out of this direct communication, and we tried very hard when we designed our business to allow chefs and farmers to communicate without Nashville Grown getting in the way, but still utilizing all of our services so that everybody can have their time best spent where it's best spent.
That's right. Keeping everybody doing what they do best.
Exactly.
Mass producing the most, but yet allowing everybody to just kind of get it done at the end of the day in a very quick fashion.
Yes.
Nice. Alan, talk to me a little bit about some of these challenges that you might have with the end users, being the chefs of some of these nicer restaurants or any of the restaurants here in Nashville, and how the seasonality and the menu changing has an effect on your business here.
Well, because our business is relying entirely on locally grown food, there are definitely limits that we tend to refer to as seasonality. So you don't expect to get a head of lettuce in the middle of July or August, grown outdoors. Most people would say that's just not going to happen. It's going to burn up and try and bolt or go to seed. And so what ends up happening is you get people who are filling niches. They're experimenting with season extension using hoop houses and things like that. And then you have hydroponic growers, which have become really popular lately. And with the hydro growers, they are filling a lot of gaps that previously were just empty. So I can now sell tomatoes in the middle of the winter time.
Expanding your offerings.
Right. So we're now expanding our offerings, which broadens out seasonality, but seasonality is a rather interesting concept for a lot of people in America, because we have all been raised with this idea that we should have access to anything all the time when we want it. And a chef who grows up with that mindset and has worked in a restaurant kitchen using that mindset, when they try and switch to a business like ours for a food procurement, what they find is that they run into things that they are asking for in the wrong season. And they just have to be mostly educated in that we have to kind of remind ourselves that when it's 90 degrees outside, really tender things are not likely to grow. On the other hand, when it's really cold outside, you have the same kind of problem in reverse. And what we have now is we have people saying, well, how do I extend the season of something that so at least it's cutting down on how few months or how many months it's just not available. And so now we're getting to this point where I have a lot of products that I didn't think would ever be available off season, but they are
starting
now.
to open up. And you're seeing chefs being able to work with you and open up their palette and their menu to being more able to change with the seasons a little bit better, and chefs are starting to appreciate that it is local, but it does have a seasonal availability. And
I mean, the chefs that really like that kind of cooking are really into it. I mean, they find that, well, one, the freshness and the flavor and nutrient density of the food is all at its peak. So they love that, because all they want to do, most chefs want two things. They want to be known as producing food that just wows people, and they want to be known as doing something different than the other chefs. So if you provide them with unique product and fresh product, then chefs are really happy. In fact, it's kind of funny to see a chef swoon over vegetables. But it happens all the time. And you think, wow, it's just a vegetable, but I mean, this is their life.
But then it gets appreciated by the very end consumer, which is us, which are the drivers of this commerce all to begin with.
When you go to a restaurant and put something in your mouth and it really does make you go, wow. That's what they're looking for.
Good, I'll be back.
And I am trying to increase the likelihood that that's going to happen, because there is no better flavor that comes from fresh picked produce. I mean, that's where it all is, right there.
Well, I'm excited to take a look around a little bit more and go see what kind of shipments that you have going out for tomorrow.
That's all for tomorrow.
All right. So we got just a bunch of collections for the day shipments that are coming in.
So you can see that I've got them organized by delivery location in here. And that way, tomorrow morning I'll do one final redundant check just to make sure that nothing got omitted and everything's where it needs to be before it gets loaded onto 2 trucks and heads out into the world.
Well, Alan, I can tell you're a really busy man nowadays in the season. I just really want to say thank you for letting us see inside of your world, and I just want to say you're doing a great job keeping everybody connected in the local food scene.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.